Imagine this for a moment. What if the biggest single barrier to a global energy revolution wasn't the tech itself, but something, well, something less tangible, like a hidden crisis of confidence? Today, we're diving deep into the story of an entrepreneur, Bhavish Bhatti. He faced some really significant setbacks, both personal and professional. But he emerged with a solution that, honestly, looks poised to transform the global solar sector. So our mission today is to explore his journey, understand how his experiences shaped his vision for this new venture, Bhaskara BluPrint. We want to unpack how he spotted this critical flaw in the solar industry, and then, thinking like we're presenting to global investors, really drive home the message: the urgent need, the huge demand, the powerful promise, and the very real benefits of speeding up the energy transition with this Bhaskara BluPrint idea. Okay, so let's unpack this journey. We need to go way back, early 2000s. Bhavish Bhatti, even as a young guy, was just constantly observing, looking for inefficiencies, unmet needs, right? Picture this. Cell phones wherever you're shore, but you actually got charged for incoming calls back then.
And running out of balance, that was a real headache. So Papa should just imagine this scenario.
Yeah.
What if you absolutely needed to make an emergency call, but bam, zero balance?
Yeah, and it's pretty amazing how that really practical problem, low balance, sparked something genuinely ingenious. He came up with this idea for a super micro credit loan, just a tiny amount, like 10 Indian rupees, offered right there by the telecom operator. The concept was so simple, really elegant. You send an SMS with a keyword. If your balance was low, the server just automatically issues the loan. Then it deducts maybe 11 rupees on your next talk-up. I mean, this wasn't just convenient. It was a potential lifeline for millions in small emergencies. And crucially, it allowed companies like Vodafone to earn millions of dollars, a huge win for them.
But here's the twist. He actually suggested this idea to Vodafone, watched them roll it out with massive ad campaigns. And he never got compensated, not a penny. Yeah. Eventually, a legal advisor basically told him, look, fighting this is futile. Move on. But that early experience, painful as it must have been, it seems like it only hardened his resolve. It just fueled his drive to innovate. So he pivoted. But this time to an even bigger challenge: power generation pollution. He was apparently deeply inspired by Al Gore's documentary, An Inconvenient Truth. That really solidified his focus on tackling climate change.
That's quite a leap, isn't it? From thinking about microcredits for phones to thinking about megawatts of power. So he jumped into solar, founded Body Energy back in 2006, initially just as a proprietorship, started small, very practical things like solar streetlights.
Right, and here's where things really start to accelerate. Body Energy became a private limited company in 2014, and it evolved into a full-blown EPC provider. EPC, for listeners, that's engineering, procurement, and construction. Basically, they handled the whole solar project lifecycle, from design to build.
And the growth was pretty rapid.
Within just 4 years, the team grew to 36 people. They were managing multi-megawatt renewable energy projects. A huge milestone was landing and handling a 14-megawatt PV project over in Bulgaria. That's a significant size.
Absolutely, and his role was very hands-on.
Yeah, he personally managed importing solar panels worth over €1 million in 2017. And later, he facilitated a €1.25 million inverter order in 2019. So he was building these strong relationships with C-suite executives, gaining really invaluable experience in the nitty-gritty of European markets.
And it seems like it was during this time, while Bati Energy was flourishing, that he started seeing a deeper problem.
Exactly. He recognized this systemic issue within the solar industry itself. The hardware, the panels, the inverters, that was getting better and better, faster and faster. But the software side, how projects were actually executed, managed, brought to life, that was lagging way behind.
What did that look like in practice?
Well, he saw fragmented project management tools, financial info scattered everywhere, just tedious manual processes. And the result was that perfectly viable projects were hitting roadblocks. He actually called it death at concept stage. They were dying before they even got off the ground.
Right. So connecting that to the bigger picture, he realized these weren't just small hiccups. They were fundamental problems. And they needed a completely new kind of solution. So in 2017, he founded Norinco U. He chose Estonia, which makes sense, known for being digital first. The vision was a B2B SaaS platform, software as a service, specifically for automating solar projects. And initially, it was bootstrapped. He funded it himself from his earnings and savings from Bati Energy.
Okay, so he's got this promising new venture underway. But then 2020 hits, the COVID-19 pandemic. It's just a massive tidal wave.
Yeah.
Economic activity tanks globally, supply chains completely fracture.
and solar project development just grinds to a halt.
A real body blow to the industry.
And for Bhavesh personally, he was on a business trip and got stuck unexpectedly in Germany. But, in what seems like a testament to his character, he didn't just sit around. He actually stepped up and led this group of over 1,000 stranded Indians in Germany. He orchestrated a media campaign, which played a big part in pushing the Indian government to start repatriation flights within about 4 weeks.
That's remarkable leadership in a crisis. But it does raise the question, how do you recover professionally from that kind of disruption? I mean, businesses were shuttered, projects just stopped dead because of the lockdowns.
Yeah, the impact was severe. Bhati Energy unfortunately had to close its doors in 2021, and Norinco O, the sauce venture, followed in 2022. He was left with virtually no income for almost 2 years. A really tough period.
Absolutely brutal.
So facing this completely new reality, what did he do? He just relentlessly started looking for new opportunities. Get this, between August 2021 and January 2022 alone, he applied for over 2,500 jobs. LinkedIn, other job boards, just casting a wide net.
Wow, that's persistence.
But his entrepreneurial spirit, it kept pulling him towards new frontiers. And that led him into the Web3 space, which was really starting to bubble up then.
Interesting pivot. What did he do there?
He quickly made an impact, became a community manager for Solid World DAO in February 2022. DAO, for listeners, that's a decentralized autonomous organization. Think of a community run by code, not a central boss. And he achieved this amazing 3 times growth in their Discord members. Really built engagement.
So he had a knack for community building in that space.
Definitely. He replicated that success at another project called Declimate, again driving significant community engagement. And his passion for these decentralized techs led him to found the MRV Foundation in September 2022. MRV stands for Measurement, Reporting, and Verification. It was aiming to build a decentralized protocol for that, which is super important for things like carbon credits, ensuring transparency.
That sounds complex, but potentially very impactful.
Yeah, he even successfully raised $45,000 through Gitcoin grants for it, though the project apparently ran into complexities and funding issues later on. And then most recently, from November 2024 up until May 2025, he was working as a carbon offsets advisor for Carbify.io. He was spearheading a potentially huge partnership linked to the NYSE with multi-billion-dollar annual revenue potential. Massive stuff.
Okay, so serious traction there. Why leave?
Because despite all that, he quit in May 2025 to focus fully on what he considers his real passion project, Bhaskara.
So the solar vision never really went away.
Never. Despite all these different ventures, the setbacks, the Web3 exploration, that original idea for an automated solar project tool just kept nagging at him. He was constantly thinking about all those problems he'd seen firsthand in the solar PV world, the fragmented tools, the scattered info, the projects dying on the vine.
And then what's fascinating is how technology caught up, right? The big advancements in IoT, the Internet of Things and AI around 2023, that seems to have sparked the crucial next idea, a pivot for that original Norinco concept.
Exactly. Instead of just software, he envisioned integrating a physical IoT device with an advanced SaaS application. This new approach, really leveraging digitalization and AI, set the stage for what he believes is a revolution in solar project automation. And he gave it this powerful new brand name, Bhaskara.
So when did this revival officially kick off?
In 2024, Bhavesh teamed up with his wife, Prati Bhati. She has an MSc in physics, so strong technical background there, and his friend Kartik Suru, who's a digital engineering student. And together, they started working on bringing Bhaskara to life.
And so he built a prototype.
Yeah, an MVP, a minimum viable product. And they were incredibly resourceful about it. They actually built it using a repurposed smartphone, connected it to a custom daughter board with a small 5-watt solar panel and other key sensors.
Very clever. Not just theory then, a real working device.
Precisely. It wasn't just a lab experiment. It was a tool designed to answer that one fundamental question every single potential solar customer asks. Okay, but what will this system actually produce on my specific property? It cuts right to the core issue of trust.
And did it work? Were the early results promising?
Hugely promising. They ran a pilot project in Q2 and Q3 of 2024, worked with member companies of the Gujarat Federation of Solar Industries in India, and the outcome, a massive early indicator of market demand, a letter of intent, an LOI, for 10,000 devices. And that's not all. There's also another LOI for 5,000 devices coming out of Europe.
Okay, that's serious validation right there. The market is clearly signaling a need.
Absolutely. So Bhavesh's own journey involved overcoming these personal confidence gaps, learning resilience the hard way. Now let's shift gears. Put on our investor hats. How does Bhaskara BluPrint tackle the industry's massive confidence crisis, the thing that's really bottlenecking the global energy transition?
Right. Let's zero in on that core problem.
The global solar industry, as it stands, is seriously hampered. Systemic inefficiencies create huge costs and risks for everyone involved: installers, financiers, customers, everyone. And it all stems from this fundamental confidence gap, which is rooted in this over-reliance on simulation-based energy yield forecasts. Predictions, essentially.
Okay, so why are those simulations, those predictions, so often wrong? That's the million-dollar question, or maybe billion-dollar question here. Our analysis really confirms it. The industry's dependence on simulation is built on shaky ground. It's basically a garbage in, garbage out scenario.
How so? What's the garbage in?
Well, first, the meteorological data itself. Sources like Meteonorm, NASA Power, they're commonly used, but they have inherent uncertainties, sometimes up to 10%, and their resolution is coarse. They miss hyper-local microclimates. It's like, using a regional weather forecast to predict sunshine in your specific backyard garden plot. It doesn't work well.
Okay, so the weather data isn't precise enough. What else?
Oh, it gets worse. Metadata errors. Simple mistakes like inputting the wrong panel mounting type or getting the orientation slightly off. These can skew the energy estimates by over 20%.
20%, just from a data entry error.
Easily. And then you have the really tricky stuff, the unmeasured site-specific variables. Microshading is a huge one. Just 1 or 2% shading on the panels, maybe from a nearby tree branch, a chimney, a neighboring building. That tiny bit of shade can slash actual energy generation by 30 to 50%.
30 to 50% loss from a tiny shadow.
Absolutely. Simulations just can't capture that dynamic, real-world effect accurately. And there's more. Things like albedo, that's the reflectivity of the ground surface. Get that right? Especially for bifacial panels that collect light from both sides. And you could see a 12.4% gain. But simulations often guess this. And soiling, just accumulated dirt and dust on the panels. In dry, arid regions, that can cause up to a 35% annual loss in energy production. Again, simulations struggle to predict this accurately over time.
Okay, so the simulations are missing a lot of crucial real-world factors.
Yeah.
So how has the industry even functioned with such unreliable numbers? Are companies just absorbing massive risks, building in huge cost buffers?
Both, essentially. It's created this environment of inefficiency and higher costs. It's a real drag on the whole sector. Let's break it down by market segment. For your residential and small commercial customers, this uncertainty manifests as analysis paralysis. People get stuck, they don't trust the numbers. This leads to incredibly long sales cycles. Think 8 to 9 months on average in the US. And that dries up customer acquisition costs a staggering $1.87 per watt in the US. For these customers, it's emotional, it's transactional. They're asking, can I really trust this investment will pay off as promised?
Okay, that's the homeowner. What about bigger projects?
For large commercial and industrial C&I projects, the pain points are more logistical and operational. That initial inaccurate estimate leads to costly rework down the line. It erodes project margins. And the pre-sales engineering itself, just figuring out the initial design and, quote, based on shaky data, costs between 2,000 and upwards of 5,000 euros per project. That's money spent before they even know if the project is truly viable.
And the biggest ones? Utility scale.
There, it's almost purely financial and actuarial. You've got sophisticated financiers involved. But because of the data uncertainty, they face a higher cost of capital. We're talking a 50 to 75 basis point increase on loans. That's significant on multi-million euro projects. And the due diligence process, verifying everything because they can't fully trust the initial numbers, is incredibly expensive. Anywhere from 15,000 to 40,000 euros per project.
Wow. So it's this vicious cycle then. Skepticism about the data leads to these really costly processes, which leads to higher risk investments, which just reinforces the skepticism.
Exactly. And that cycle is the single biggest obstacle holding back faster solar adoption worldwide. It's not just about money. It's fundamentally about a lack of trust in the foundational data.
Right. The insight here isn't just that simulations are flawed. It's that unwavering trust based on real data is the missing ingredient. It's maybe even more critical than the next bump in panel efficiency. So the solution proposed, Bhaskara BluPrint. And importantly, it's not just another simulation tool trying to make better guesses. It's positioned as a fundamental paradigm shift, designed to inject empirical, real-world truth right into the solar value chain.
How does it do that? What's the mechanism?
It starts with their intelligent IoT device, the BluPrint device. It's packed with sensors. We call it sensor fusion, combining light, temperature, tilt, and other data points.
Like how our brain combines sight and sound to understand the world around us.
Exactly. It gives a holistic, accurate picture. This device is temporarily deployed right there on the potential site. It gathers high-frequency environmental data, real sunlight, real temperature fluctuations. It detects those critical microshading impacts as they happen. And then it securely transmits all this rich, ground truth data up to the cloud.
Okay, so it collects real data for a short period. But solar is a long-term investment. How does that short-term data help predict 20, 25 years of performance? That's the really clever part. Their proprietary AI engine takes this short-term, hyper-local ground truth data, and it uses it to validate and calibrate the existing long-term satellite data sets. It doesn't throw the satellite data out, it makes it accurate for that specific location.
Ah, so it anchors the long-term forecast in reality.
Precisely. It captures the real-world impact of all those variables, the microshading, the actual albedo, the local weather quirks that simulations struggle with. It essentially transforms a generalized simulation into a high-confidence, genuinely bankable forecast. It's like switching from a blurry photo to a high-definition one.
And the platform offers more than just the improved forecast, right?
Yes, it's a suite of tools. There's a financial modeling and de-risking engine. It automatically generates sophisticated financial models using the validated data, calculates a precise levelized cost of energy, projects cash flows with much higher accuracy. And there's also an automated site-specific design and bill of materials generation module. It uses that granular site data from the device to create optimized preliminary designs and BOMs, drastically cutting down that expensive pre-sales engineering effort we talked about.
All right, this sounds genuinely transformative. So let's talk ROI. For the investors listening, what are the quantifiable benefits, the numbers?
Okay, let's get specific. For EPCs and installers, starting in Europe, Bhaskara BluPrint reduces those pre-sales engineering costs by a massive 75 to 90%. That's saving them 1,500 to over 4,500 euros per commercial project, typically.
Huge savings up front.
And it accelerates sales cycles by up to 62%. Faster deals.
Mm.
Plus, it increases conversion rates, getting that yes from the customer by 20 to 30% because the customer has more confidence.
Okay, Europe. What about the U.S. market?
In the U.S., it tackles those notorious soft costs. Bhaskara aims to cut them by 47%, which translates to about $1.50 per watt saved. It helps shorten that long 8 to 9 month sales cycle by up to 60 days. And critically, it slashes project cancellation rates. They drop from an average of 33%, a third of deals falling through, down to around 8%. That's a game changer for installers' bottom lines.
Massive impact on the installer side. What about the money side, the project financiers?
For them, the benefits are equally compelling. Reduced due diligence costs by 60 to 80%. That's saving 9,000 to 32,000 euros per project verification.
Just less need to double and triple check everything.
Exactly. And because the data is now bankable, truly reliable, it enhances project bankability overall. This enables a potential 50 to 75 basis point reduction in the cost of capital. Banks can justify lower interest rates because the risk profile is genuinely lower.
Okay, those are some compelling ROI numbers. What's the overall market size look like?
The potential here is substantial. The total addressable market, the TAM, is estimated at over $5 billion. That represents the global spending on soft costs just in the pre-sales phase of solar.
$5 billion currently being spent largely on guesswork and inefficiency.
Pretty much. And their initial target, the Serviceable Obtainable Market, or SOM, focusing on key regions like India and the EU initially, is around $500 million. So they're tapping into a huge, previously unaddressed gap in market efficiency.
And their go-to-market strategy. Who are they targeting first?
Their strategic entry point is mid-sized EPCs, the ones doing maybe 50 to 200 installs a year.
Why them?
They're generally more agile. They can integrate new technology like this relatively quickly and see the benefits faster than, say, a giant utility.
Makes sense. And the business model. How do customers pay?
It's a hybrid model, part SaaS, software as a service, and part HaaS, hardware as a service, since there's the physical device. Customers can opt for an annual subscription fee of 499 euros per device, or they can choose a pay-per-use model at 299 euros for each project assessment.
Flexible options. And profitability.
Their projected LTV/PAC ratio, that's lifetime value of a customer versus the cost to acquire that customer, is really impressive. It's projected at 19.98 to 1. That indicates a highly profitable and scalable business model.
Okay, strong numbers, but let's talk competition. There's existing simulation software out there, like PVSys, Aurora Solar. There are drone survey companies like Scanifly. How does Bhaskara fit in? or stand out?
That's a really important distinction to make. They don't see themselves as direct competitors to tools like PVSys or Aurora Solar. Instead, they position Bhaskara as a complementary layer. It's a pre-sales validation and correction layer.
So it makes the existing tools better.
Exactly. It provides the superior ground truth input data that makes the outputs from those simulation tools actually credible and, crucially, bankable. It provides the accurate ingredients for their calculations.
Okay, so it complements simulation software. What about physical survey methods like drones?
Right. Tools like Scanify use drones, and they're excellent at capturing geometry, the roof shape, dimensions, physical obstructions like chimneys, the what and where. But drones cannot measure the actual energy variables on site. They can't measure real-time irradiance, sunlight intensity, albedo, ground reflection, or the actual rate of soiling accumulation.
So drones get the physical layout, but Bhaskara gets the energy reality.
Precisely. Bhaskara provides the missing half of the equation, the energy truth for that specific spot. And if you compare it to traditional, expensive, complex scientific weather stations, Bhaskara's low-cost, temporarily installed device democratizes access to that bankable data specifically for the pre-sales phase. They're really creating a whole new market category here, rapid empirical validation, getting real-world energy data quickly and affordably right at the start.
Okay, new category creator. Let's look ahead. What's the strategic roadmap for scaling this up? Where do they plan to go?
The plan is global, headquartered strategically in Helsinki, Finland. They want to leverage Finland's top-tier technology ecosystem and talent pool.
Makes sense. And the rollout plan.
It's phased, starting naturally in Finland and some initial pilot markets, then expanding into the DACH region, Germany, Austria, Switzerland, and the Benelux countries, major European solar markets.
And then?
Next up would be North America, a huge market with those soft cost issues we discussed. And finally, APAC, Asia-Pacific, and other high-growth solar markets.
Is India part of that initial phase, given the strong LOIs?
They're definitely open to strategic funding for a parallel accelerated launch, specifically in India. That early market validation is too significant to ignore.
Okay, sounds like a solid plan. But every venture has risks. What are the key hurdles for Bhaskara, and how are they planning to mitigate them, especially from an investor perspective?
Good question. The single most critical milestone, the one everything hinges on, is achieving formal bankability. This means getting independent validation of their AI correction model from a globally respected third-party firm. Think DNV or Sued, someone the financial institutions trust implicitly.
Why is that so critical?
Because that independent validation is what unlocks the whole value proposition for financiers. It proves the data is reliable, justifying lower interest rates and reduced due diligence. It's the key to de-risking solar investments at scale.
How are they addressing that?
They've specifically allocated 600,000 euros within their seed funding request just for this validation process. They know how crucial it is. Success here basically unlocks the market.
Okay, bankability is risk number one. What else?
Operational scalability is another. Managing a growing global fleet of these IoT devices, logistics, maintenance, deployment, that's a challenge. They plan to de-risk this through that phased country-by-country rollout. Start dense in Finland, perfect the operational model, then replicate it carefully in new markets, learn and adapt as they grow.
Right, so they're actively seeking funding now.
Yes, they're currently seeking a seed round of 3.6 million euros.
And the term?
They're offering 6% equity in return for that investment.
What's the funding breakdown? Where will that 3.6 million go?
It's strategically allocated. A significant chunk for hardware production and building inventory of the BluPrint devices. Then working capital for smooth day-to-day operations. That crucial independent validation and certification we just talked about. Expanding their core team engineering, sales, operations. And then funds for the go-to-market strategy. Building partnerships.
And how long will that funding last them?
This seed round is designed to provide an estimated runway of 18 to 24 months. Enough time to hit those critical milestones, especially bankability, and prove out the model for the next stage of growth.
Okay, that covers the near term. Looking further out, what are the potential crown jewels, the future innovations that could create even more long-term value?
Yeah, they have a vision beyond the core product. One exciting idea is an AI-powered module specifically for grid operators. It would assess the reliability risk associated with integrating large amounts of solar, providing a kind of grid reliability score. This could help de-risk investments from the grid side, which is another major concern.
Interesting. What else?
They envision creating a digital twin capability. An immersive, virtual, real-time representation of the proposed solar system for customer engagement helps people really visualize and understand their investment. and further down the line, potentially developing their own proprietary BluPrint ASIC chip, an application-specific integrated circuit designed for true on-device AI processing, making the devices even smarter and more secure.
And the data itself.
Yes, perhaps the biggest long-term asset. That vast repository of hyperlocal, ground truth solar performance data collected by potentially thousands of BluPrint devices worldwide, that data itself becomes incredibly valuable. It could be anonymized and licensed to insurers, helping them price risk more accurately, to grid operators for better planning, to research institutions advancing solar science. That data asset alone could be huge.
Wow. Okay, so from that initial spark of an idea for mobile microcredits, all the way through building and losing businesses, exploring Web3. Bhaveshmati's journey really is this powerful story of resilience, of relentless problem solving, and this deep, unwavering commitment to tackling big challenges. And Bhaskara BluPrint feels like the culmination of all those experiences, a tangible, data-driven solution targeting that pervasive confidence gap in solar.
Absolutely. By fundamentally shifting the paradigm from guesswork based on simulations to decisions based on verifiable ground truth data, Bhaskara isn't just making forecasts slightly better, it's aiming to accelerate the entire energy transition. It does that by cutting costs, by genuinely de-risking investments, and by building that foundation of trust needed for a clean energy future.
So maybe the ultimate key to unlocking solar's full potential isn't just the next breakthrough panel technology. Maybe it's something simpler, yet more profound, a new layer of trust built on empirically verified truth. Definitely something to mull over as we imagine a world powered, finally, by unwavering confidence in clean energy.